Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Pam. I have a lot of plants and that's what we talk about here. If you're not new here, welcome back. I appreciate you watching my videos. So today we are going to do two things. First, we're going to repot this giant grocery store Monstera that I scored for $8. Get on my level. And I picked this up in the winter of 2019. So that would probably mean I think I got it around January or February. I always tag my plants and I always put when I picked them up on the back of the tag, just so I have an idea. I like data. And the second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about bullying on the internet. So some of you might have seen a new hashtag going around on Instagram and it says plantykindnessproject. And Pam from Pam's Planty Things, we know each other, all Pams know each other, small thing you may not know. Actually, we met on Instagram about a month ago and I followed her channel and she just recently put out this video where she is talking about the plant community and what it feels like to put yourself out there on YouTube. It's obviously very intimidating for a lot of people. Everyone, I think, gets a little intimidated at some point doing something like this. You're putting yourself out there. There's tons of trolls on the internet. They can say anything they want, and it's very clear that YouTube will not do anything about it. So Pam's idea was that if we consciously think about that and put more kindness out into our planty community, be it on YouTube or on Instagram, that our community might not fall into the same trap as a lot of other communities here on the internet. Anyway, I really liked this idea and I have a lot to say about this stuff, so I thought we could talk about it while we replant this giant, absolutely root-bound Monstera. Like, this is gonna be a nightmare. I need you to know that. A lot of times these plants that you'll pick up at the big box stores or grocery stores, they tend to have just a ton of little babies all shoved into the pot to make it filled out and full. But problem with that is when they get to this big, they're strangling each other, basically, like an old married couple that's still together for the kids, even though the kids have moved away, like that. Oh, we're doing this on my bedroom floor, old YouTube style, because every time I go outside and try to talk to a camera, my neighbor comes out and just watches me. He doesn't say anything, he just stands there. So that's really creepy. So, as you can see, it is still in its nursery pot. All these little baby plants stuck in there, and I would love to separate those out and get those into different pots. And then, you know, pass them on to friends. Maybe fill in some more corners of my house with Monstera because, I mean, they're not all filled with them yet, so. Okay, so my basic game plan here is to just get all of the dirt on this weird plasticky rug that I got from Five Below, and hopefully I can scoop that all outside and not have dirt all over my floor for the rest of forever. Okay, let's talk about some bullying. So I'm going to put the lid of my soil container down and try to catch most of this old dirt on that. So when Pam asked some of us to contribute to this movement, hashtag whatever, she said to, you know, talk a little bit about yourself and your experiences with this kind of stuff. So I guess I will start with that. You guys, a lot of you know a good chunk about me, but if you don't, I'm in my later 30s. I have 2 kids. I have a long-term partner that I live with. His name is Mike. And I was absolutely tortured in school. It started in elementary schools. I went to a Catholic school. Don't recommend that. Unless you really want your kids to be atheists, then absolutely send them to Catholic school. So in that school, I was not cool. I had 2 friends and everyone else hated me. So I got pretty used to being not cool at all. So by the time I got to middle school, which was a public school, I was increasingly uncool. Now this went on basically until high school, and I used to tell this story a lot when I was teaching to kids to try to make them feel better, you know, like, hey, I was bullied too, you know, and I'm okay. And but then we got to the point where they would ask, well, Miss G, how did you stop the bullying? And I stopped the bullying by strangling my bully. So he was fine. He went to live on to be a huge jerk in life later on too. Oh, we got it. We got it. Oh. better condition than I thought. The internet came around, or came into my life, I would say, in my early high school years. And back then, we didn't have social media or anything like that, so that your bullies couldn't really find you outside of school. And if you didn't live near them, you could basically avoid them. It wasn't too long before I figured out that there was a whole other set of bullies on the internet. And unlike the bullies that have to say things to your face, the bullies on the internet are cowards who do it behind anonymous names. So I'm just loosening the roots down here a little bit because they are super like tightly packed together. So we're just gonna do this and get dirt everywhere. I went on to find a ton of friends on the internet, so it worked out pretty well, but because I was such a bullied kid, I have a pretty adverse reaction to bullying that may not always jive well with the term kindness. So what I mean by that is it is really hard for me to see bullying and not bully back. And I'll tell you right now that because I was bullied for so long, if I see that you have hurt someone else, I will hurt you with my words. So part of my journey has been trying not to indulge that need that I have to be a vigilante bullier. I'm just gonna lay this down a little bit and try to break these roots apart. Just be super gentle because these leaves tend to snap like right when you don't think that they're going to. And while I'm in here, I'm also gonna check and make sure I don't see any pests or any weird root rot or anything, but so far this looks like really nice. So because I know how other people are on YouTube, and increasingly even generationally, we're all pretty anxious, and I think we have every right to be, considering the state of the world, as well as the amount of things that people expect you to do with very, very little. But I wanted to make this because I can tell you that I've definitely gotten to a place in my life that I would call, for lack of a better term, unfuckwithable. Now, this does not mean that I am incapable of having hurt feelings. It doesn't mean that I would welcome an onslaught of bullying on the internet. But what it does mean is that I can say with pretty good confidence at 37 years old that there really isn't anything a stranger who doesn't know me, who has no idea who I am beyond what I choose to put on the internet, what they say doesn't matter. I saw a great quote the other day that said, "Don't take advice from someone you would not seek advice from." And I think that that also goes in terms of criticism. If you would not go to somebody and ask them, hey, could I get your honest feedback on this project that I put a lot into, then why would you take that criticism back from that person that you didn't ask for it from? So obviously, super, super, super easier said than done. I know that, especially if you're younger. So I'm just trying to work on pulling this plant out right now. And if you go slow, this isn't as scary as it looks. So if you're watching this and you want to start doing something, be it YouTube, writing, poetry, dance, acting, a podcast, a blog, photography, anything. If it's something that you want to do and other people's feedback is what's holding you back, I'm going to tell you a big secret. And it's a secret that a lot of times people only learn after a lot of criticism and adversity. Come close. It doesn't fucking matter. Now you might be thinking, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course it matters. People need to like me. I need to be able to get along with people. I need to be able to win accolades and do things to have self-worth. No. Other people do not give you your self-worth. You give it to yourself. Look at these roots. It can be really, really, really hurtful to hear criticism or just plain mean insults about yourself, especially if it's something that you've already felt yourself. And I think that a lot of times that's what hurts us the most. It's, when we put something out there and we think, God, I wasn't very clear. I kind of rambled a little bit. And, you get some comment that's like, wow, way too much talking. You should shut up. And it's like the whole world caves in and suddenly you think, I was right. I was right to not, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just stayed in my room and stayed small and stayed unnoticed. Because if you're not noticed, you can't be criticized, right? Well, here's where we go back to it doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter. Because one, the person saying that does not know you. Anyone who's been in a relationship longer than 2 years knows that for the first 6 months that you are around somebody, you are with their representative. It is not them. It is their best personality. It is their best self. It's not fake. It's just their best self. And just like you can't know people very intimately at first, someone who's only seen a few of your videos on the internet doesn't know jack shit about you. So if you look at it at face value, their criticism doesn't really mean a lot because they don't have the context to criticize you. And if somebody is criticizing you, you can sit down and you can ask yourself, was this criticism offered to me by someone who is invested in my success? If the answer to that is no, then there is no reason to hear that criticism. Is this the common opinion? Are there more people that think this? Did your comment section come in with 10 positive comments and 1 negative one, and all you can think about is that 1 negative one? Probably the video was fine. The project was fine. The painting was fine. It was probably even great. But we always let that one person take that away from us. And you have to ask yourself why. Stop it right now. Look at this. Brené Brown has this thing that she talks about a lot. And if you don't know who Brené Brown is, highly recommended. Highly. Whoop. So she has a list that she keeps tucked in her wallet with just a few names on it. And those names are the names of the people in her life whose feedback and criticism matter to her. Who, if they did not think she was doing well or doing right, and they told her, she would hear that criticism because she knows that person is A, invested in her success, and B, loves her. So you can ask yourself, did this criticism come from someone on my list? And lastly, you need to ask yourself, is the person criticizing me or bullying me, are they out there in the field doing what I'm doing? Are they putting themselves out there? Are they taking a risk? Are they being vulnerable? 9 times out of 10, the answer to that is no. Okay, so we're up to four separate plants here. So if you've gotten to the end of your bullying or criticism assessment, and the person is not somebody who knows you, the person is not invested in your success, the person is not on your list, and the person is not out there in the field getting dirty alongside you. What they said might still be hurtful, but it doesn't matter. Ooh, almost there. Little guys, look how cute this one is. Oh, these guys are precious. So, out with the old, in with the new. Now, let's talk a little bit about how you become unwithable and how you give that energy back to the plant community in particular, because that's where we're at. So this is where I have to tell you something you don't want to hear. The only way out is through. The odds of you reading any book or doing any amount of therapy and suddenly not being afraid to put yourself out there or not being afraid of the criticism that you may get back are pretty slim. Did you guys just hear that? You really need to understand that bullying is not about you. There may be things about you that people descend on, that they, maybe how you look, how you talk, where you're from. People will find a way. They will find something to attack you for, and it's not right, but it happens. And you really have to understand and internalize, if you have to tell yourself every single day, this is not about me. That is something that is broken in that person. If you're somebody who's been bullied, you can kind of go one or two ways. You can either become the bully, you can lash out at other people, you can be angry, you can feel entitled to a bully-free life. And I hate to tell you, you're not gonna get it. Or you can just really accept that people hurt other people because they are hurt. You say something to someone and you want them to hurt, and they haven't hurt you in any way, you are broken. You are a broken person, and I'm sorry for you. I've been you. I wanted to hurt other people because I was hurting. But then I grew the fuck up. We have so much sadness in this world, so much violence, so much just toxic anger and hate. We can't fix it all ourselves, and it's probably not going to be fixed in my lifetime or yours. But what we can do is we can put out into our own world what we want to get back. And it doesn't mean it's always going to work, but wouldn't you rather try? For me, that just means being super supportive of other people. I try very hard, and I have basically since I started watching plant videos, to always leave a comment. I try to always compliment people, anything, and it's not disingenuous. I literally look for things to compliment people on because I love seeing people hear a compliment. And it's kind of selfish on my part because it makes me feel good too. And that's the thing, is that this can be a two-way street. Doing good makes you feel good, and that's why people who are horrible to other people on the internet just become worse, because they don't ever have that kindness reflected back at them. They don't ever get the feeling of, oh, I made that person feel good. I helped that person through something. That's a really, really good feeling, and it sucks that some people miss out on it just so that they can be dicks to people on the internet. Now, it can be easy to be like, well, who cares? I don't want to feel bad for people who are being mean to me, and I'm not saying feel bad for them. So I'm going to put these two together because they look like they should be together. They're very flat on one side, and then I'm just going to put them together and they will make one very nice bushy plant, and that's what I'm going to put in my bigger pot here. So hopefully that's not too much roots in a small pot. Anybody else have pot amnesia, where you like go to Home Depot to get pots and you come home with like all the wrong size pots and you're like, what was I thinking? I do it all the time. So I'm just using my go-to. This is an organic potting medium. It is peat and cocoa mix, and it also has some fertilizer and food in it. They also make a mix that doesn't have any fertilizer or food in it, which I've purchased before, and I've just mixed worm castings in and had some pretty good luck with that. What was I talking about? ADD. So anyway, the way that we keep this community that we're all loving so much so far from becoming a toxic wasteland like so many other communities on YouTube, including some I've been a part of, is we have to do it ourselves. We have to look for opportunities to be kind. When I started watching plant videos, they weren't super huge here on YouTube, so I've kind of been around a lot of channels for a while, and I found that for the most part, I mean, at least all the ones that I've continued to watch have a really good community engagement. They talk to their subscribers, and they keep their subscribers in mind when they're deciding on content, and I think that that's a good parasocial relationship. But as you get bigger on YouTube, there's going to be people who don't care about the community you've built because they haven't been watching your videos for long enough. And what they do is they come on and they see somebody doing something that they feel should be theirs. They think, well, why does this person have all these people being nice to them and telling them that their video is good and all of this? I don't have that. And then they're gonna go, oh, they got a little bit of a lisp. Oh, maybe their hair is a little crazy today. I think I'll point that out. So I'm also going to be wedging one of these PVC pipes in here because I'm going to, really just terrible decision, don't do this. I'm going to try to make a moss pole after I repot these. But you really want to get the pole in when you're repotting because otherwise you're going to crush your roots as you're like shoving it into the pot. So I'm just going to tie these to the pole lightly for right now so I can repot the rest of these. So in terms of planty kindness here on the internet, on YouTube, I think a great way to do that is, especially if you see negative comments, offset them with positive ones. I think other plant creators also need to be aware that we're kind of at the front of the parade. I mean, not me, nobody knows who the hell I am, but the other creators who are bigger, they have a lot of power in the tone of the community. And I think that so far, our like bigger stars, or stars of the plant community, have done a pretty good job keeping things incredibly positive and also handling criticism really well. So this guy is pretty sad right now, so we're definitely gonna have to put a stick in here and tie her up a little bit. So far I've been pretty fortunate with the plant community. I'm sure that will end after this video, but I haven't gotten a lot of really terrible comments. A lot of times it's either somebody being really condescending, because for some reason people think that I started a channel about plants and I don't know anything about them. My favorite is when they will tell me something in the comments as if I didn't know it, but I actually said it in the video that they didn't watch. I have been asked a few things from men that I don't want to say here or ever, anywhere. So eventually the time will come, I'm sure, when I start getting more abusive comments, but I can safely say that I have arrived at a point, like I said, where things like that don't really bother me. There's really nothing that anybody on the internet can say that is any worse than the things I have said to myself. No one hates me like me. So when I was watching Pam's video, I could tell that like the comments she got were extremely hurtful to her, and it really, again, I have rage when it comes to bullies. It upset me, and I wanted to make this video because I feel like I have gotten where a lot of people want to be when it comes to hearing shitty comments. It doesn't mean that nobody can hurt my feelings. I do have those. I am a little bit sensitive. But when that initial sting wears off, all I can do is think, who the f are you? I will say that a good deal of my resiliency came after I lost my brother, because when something that horrible happens to you, it's really difficult to give the same weight to something as stupid as someone on the internet telling you you're ugly. Like, we're all gonna die, dude. Who cares? And while I don't recommend having your brother die in order to get to this place where I am at, I would encourage you to remember every single day that what some idiot on the internet says about you really is not even a blip on the radar of importance in your actual life. With very few exception, anything that you put out into this world is going to register with at least one person. If you want to put something out into the world, first do it for yourself. Don't do it for everybody else's approval. But if you want to do it, I think that you should, because there's always somebody out there who's like you, who will see you and they'll hear you talk and they'll hear your thoughts and opinions on things, and they'll think, wow, me too, me too. And then they'll feel validated. And I think that's a really important thing to feel. And in my opinion, if you're going to go around existing, leaving marks on the world, there should be ones that you're proud of. And that doesn't mean that everything that you put out there has to be perfect or, your favorite work or even something you're happy with. But at the end of the day, the act of putting it out there in a world full of cowards who hide behind screens and do nothing with their life, the act of you putting something out there is huge and beautiful, and please do it. So I want you guys to make me a promise down below in the comments. I want you to leave me a comment that says, I promise. I want you to promise me that you are not going to let people you do not know stop you from doing what you want. Promise me. We've had a good chat. You've made me a good promise. And now I want you to take Pam's hashtag, plantykindnessproject, and spread it everywhere. Spread it like glitter. Spread it like herpes. Don't listen to me. So I will leave you with the words of the great philosophers, Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other. And I'll see you guys next time. Definitely dirt on my mouth now.